And then the final description type is what we call the future of the outcome. And this is where you say, in some sense, suppose sometime in the future, this clarity or this peace or this self-knowledge that you're looking for, it shows up. Can you tell me what you would notice? What would be different if it showed up in this way? Right? And one of the things that's really important here is that we walk into the future with the presupposition that that shift or the change, the presence of their desired outcome is going to change everything about the way that they interact. It's going to change the way they get dressed in the morning. It's going to change the way that they eat. It's going to change the way they interact with people in their lives. It's going to change. If I feel like I have clarity, then it's going to change how clear I am about what clothes I put on. It's going to change how clear I am about how to interact with people. It's going to change how clear I am about what direction I need to be going. And so when I asked Georgia about these details, I said, what would you notice that would be different if you woke up and you had this kind of clarity? And one of the things that she said was, I wouldn't be caring what other people thought about me. And she said, one of the things that I've been worried about a long time is if people found out that I had this STI, what would they think? If people found out that my husband was having all these affairs, what would they think? If I get divorced, what will people think about me? And she said, if I had clarity, if I had peace, if I knew myself just right, I wouldn't really care what people thought about me, especially my friends. I wouldn't care what my friends thought about me. And I asked, if you weren't caring what people thought about you, what would you be doing instead? And she said, I would be walking with confidence. And she painted this beautiful picture of confidence. She said, I would have my shoulders back, my neck would be long, and my head would be held high. And I would know that I was moving with clarity, that I wasn't going to be impacted, that no matter what people thought or what people said, I would know I was moving in the right direction. Another detail that she gave me of what would be different if she had this clarity is she said, I would be celebrating important dates, especially my birthday, with only my children. And I said, well, what difference would it make for you to celebrate this important birthday with just your kids? And she said, well, there's always been other people around. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's my parents. Sometimes it's my partner. Sometimes, it's all of these people who are around. And she said, if I want to make the most, I want to cherish these important moments. And if I were living my life with clarity, I would know just my children are here. They're the only people that I want. And she then at that point said, I guess that gives me an indication of what decision I need to make. And I think it's important to make it really clear. We weren't having a conversation about should you stay with your husband or should you not stay with your husband? But we were having a conversation around if clarity was present, if self-knowledge was present, if peace was present. And she said, if those things were present, my husband wouldn't be present. And she's the one that made the connection of, I guess I know which direction I'm leaning. In addition, another detail that she talked about was I would be treating the kids and the parents from my school with presence and love. And I said, how would presence and love indicate that you were living your life, you were interacting with these people with clarity? And she said, because I got into this because I knew I had love to give and they needed my love. And she said, if I was living within that love, if I was completely present, if I could show that love, I would know I was moving forward with clarity. I would be moving forward with being the person I want to be. And then the final sign that she talked about in this future, that she was moving forward with clarity, is she said, I would retire to my home country. And remember, she's in her early 60s, and so retirement isn't very far away for her. And she said, I've been saving up this money, and I wasn't ever really quite sure what I wanted to do with it. But if I was living with clarity and with peace and with this happiness, I would know I want that Caribbean happiness in my life as much as possible. So I would want to retire to my home country, and I would want just a little house. And we spent a lot of time talking about these signs that she would notice. And she would say, I would have this house. And I would say, and how would your house let you know that you were moving forward with clarity? And she said, I would know that I only need a little house, 1 bedroom for me and 1 bedroom for people who might come to visit. And what difference would it make for you to have this kind of clarity? And she would say, it would let me know that I know me and that I'm putting my needs first. And again, she said, I remember that that's what I want my kids to know. I want them to know they can take care of themselves. And so talking about this future with clarity and with self-knowledge, she moved to a place of, I know what I need to do about this relationship. I know how I want to interact with my children. I know where I want to be when I retire. And so all this work of, when have you had this clarity in the past? What is it about you in the present? What resources do you have that let you know that you're capable of having this kind of clarity? That contributed to a future where she was able to see herself with this clarity and with this self-knowledge. And she was able to really describe with great detail what this would look like. All of this comes together with then, how do you close this out, right? If one of the premier principles of solution-focused brief therapy is just to have this co-constructed conversation, to not violate their autonomy or agency, to not rely on diagnosis, right? Think about what she could have been diagnosed with again at the beginning. She could have been diagnosed with depression. She could have been diagnosed with anxiety. She could have been diagnosed with an adjustment to a life transition. But what she got to was, I want clarity. I want Caribbean happiness. I want peace. And what she started reporting as we went throughout this process is, she said, I'm feeling more peace, Caribbean peace each day. What I'm noticing is that as I move toward getting divorced, she said, I'm realizing that my heart and my head are in line, that I'm starting to get excited about what life might be like when it's just me, when I can put my needs first. And so one of the things that we want to do as we wrap up this process is, we don't want to undo any of the work that we've done before. And you can potentially undo it by giving homework or giving compliments or giving summaries and saying, like, look at all you've achieved and I'm so impressed with you and you now know what to do going forward. And instead, we want to ask questions and we want to say things like, what have you noticed as you've gone throughout this process, if these things have started entering into your life, that you're most pleased with? If you were able to carry these forward in such a meaningful way, what would be the signs that would let you know that you're carrying these forward in this way? And so I think that's one of the things that we want to do as we wrap up these sessions, is we don't want to give our impression. We don't want to say, I'm the person with power and privilege here, what I think is more important than what you think. But we want to formulate it with questions that allow them to say, what did they take out of this? How are they going to move forward with this? How are they going to make this process meaningful to them? And so we wrap up with two really important things. One, we wrap up with an expression of gratitude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering these questions. Thank you for collaborating with me in this way. Thank you for contributing to a really meaningful interaction. Gratitude is paramount. And then the second thing we want to do to kind of wrap up this process is to let them know you can use your agency, you can use your autonomy. And that means that if at any point you decide you want to come back, you are welcome to come back. I will open my doors to you willingly. And so those are the two ways that we kind of wrap up. And we let them take from this process whatever it is they choose to take from this process.